Hey legends, how's it going? We're back at it once again for another episode. Imagine that, imagine that! Well, today we start to recap my painful journey to Platinum Doom 3 BFG Edition for the PS3. So, firstly, let's introduce you to what this edition is if you're not already curious. This edition of Doom 3 is a 2012 remaster that includes Doom 1, Doom 1 Thy Flesh Consumed, Doom 2, Doom 2 Hell on Earth, including No Rest for the Living expansion made for Xbox Live, and the Doom 3 Resurrection of Evil and the Lost Mission campaigns, which were cut from the original Doom 3 game. Each game and DLC has its own trophies associated with it that you will need to play from at least Ultraviolence and above, plus all excruciating Doom 3 campaigns on Nightmare, which will make all enemies basically bullet sponges. You will continually take damage to 25, and with how clunky this game is, you will need to save a lot to ensure you don't lose hours of progress, especially if you've missed a collectible or some sort of missable. There are not enough words to describe how unfair this game is at high difficulties, but I even had the additional challenge of trying to finish it before the new year 2026, which meant a few late nights. Oh, and did I mention there were multiplayer achievements for a 14-year-old game from a console 2 generations old? Without further ado, let's show you the grueling journey to achieve all 65 achievements. For the clips, there'll be a mix between gameplay and streams, as I was fully committed to getting good. Anyways, as such, we start with Doom 1, released in 1993, with the first achievement, Doom Neophyte, which is to complete any level of Doom in single player, and subsequently completing on Hurt Me Plenty difficulty, Doom episodes 1, 3, 2, and 4, in that exact order because we know how to count. This was to introduce ourselves into the franchise, as this was my first time playing Doom 1 in general, and also made the achievements like Doom Burn Out of Control easier, as we needed to complete any Doom level with 100% kills, items and secrets. However, because we wanted to play on a lower difficulty, doesn't exclude us from needing to complete all Doom levels on Ultra Violence for the next achievement, Doom Rampage, which was by far more difficult, as especially for the added episode 4, Thy Flesh Consumed, makes more enemies appear. You take more damage, and with tightly packed areas, it's a pain. Similarly, we also have to play any Doom level on Nightmare difficulty, which I chose to do the easiest level, 1-1, which is iconic from the older Doom games, for Doom Nightmare. Honestly, the first Doom game was such a unique experience from someone who has never played the older games and has never properly played a Doom game other than 2016 when it first released, which my infant gaming brain could not appreciate. Other than that, this will finalise the first game, and for my official flop rating, I will give it 4 out of 5 pinkies. Moving on to Doom 2 Electric Boogaloo, there's another achievement called Doom 2 Just Getting Started, which is just to complete any Doom 2 level in single player. However, let's just appreciate how much of a step up in the franchise this was. John Carmack, the coder behind the original Doom games, expanded the levels to be so much more complex, with more moving parts that inevitably made the maps more difficult. It still baffles me that these games are actually 2D, but just created in such a way that they look 3D, which is an educational lecture for another time. So, we're continuing on to achieve Doom 2, an important looking door in which you have to find a secret area within the first level of the game, which I just couldn't find because in the end it was something I just did. I didn't expect it to be, and you have to interact with it. But then, either way though, it leads us on to completing Doom 2 with 100% kills, items and secrets, with Doom 2 Burn Out of Control, very similar to the first game, after we find several massive rooms filled with our worst nightmares. Which would have been helpful if we had a BFG about now, which we eventually do with Doom 2, a really big gun, as not like in the original game, but in this one, when you find BFG, you actually get an achievement for it. Finally, we move on to then the last achievements, which are after completing the base game and defeating the iconic Icon of Sin as the final boss, which was Magnifique. There's actually a little secret in the level as well, I'll let you find that. We obtain Doom 2 from Hell to Earth, which is to complete all Doom 2 levels from Hell on Earth at any difficulty, and then Doom 2 Superior Firepower for doing it on Ultra Violence, which we did on the same run. And after fighting the Cyber Demon, or more like the Minotaur of the maze, we just completed the No Rest for the Living DLC for Doom 2 and back again, which can be completed at any difficulty. Overall, I give this game and its associated DLC 3.5 out of 5 pain elementals because I'm dreadful in navigation. Now, the first two games were small fry compared to this beast that is Doom 3, and this is where a lot of our allotted attention spans will be spent. Additionally, this section will primarily focus on the achievement list and my time playing rather than the story for the sake of time, but all I can comment on it is that it definitely felt like an inspiration for Dead Space, which was pretty cool. And I played Dead Space and those are very good games. So starting things out, we have the base Doom 3 game, which were immediately shown how difficult it was when we already got that was close, which was to kill an enemy with 1 health remaining. This, may I remind you, is why you should constantly save throughout these games, so you can continually make progress within a level or before a difficult section, because even the game itself has it as a hint for loading screens. So this isn't save scumming, it's save surviving. And plus, since we're playing on a PS3 with even an SSD inside of it, it's still very long loading times in between screens, literally about like a minute between saves, so we're also trying to save a bit of time, honestly. I should mention before moving on, we are playing this not on the hardest difficulty Nightmare initially, even though it is needed for each campaign difficulty achievement, because it does not unlock until we beat the game on whatever difficulty, but here we will be doing it on Veteran for the first time. However, difficulty achievements stack, so when we play on Veteran you'll also get Marine and Recruit, so each initial playthrough will be on Veteran and then Nightmare, but it is strongly recommended that you do the collectibles and find secret achievements in the Veteran run, and just leave Nightmare to survive. Don't ask how I know that. Anyways, we then move on to Stick Situation, which is defeating the first boss, the Vagary, which was a Witch Qualag ripoff. Other than that, we then also get Bot Buddy, which was to keep a sentry bot alive to his destination at the end of the solo section, as these guys are supposed to be made to be your support in these sections. We are then also able to get Turncoat, which was to get 2 demons to fight each other, Boomtastic, which was also to blow up 50 barrels, but most graciously, we then acquire Ready for Action, which gets us the BFG 9000 from the security chief's office after inputting a code that I definitely did not look up into the door. The BFG is a massive help in this game, but honestly you don't get a ton of ammo for it, so it's used very sparingly compared to the plasma rifle, which was my boy. We then fought a few more bosses, being the Guardian and the Sabbath, to gain the Cookie Stealer and You're Not My Boss achievements, which were straightforward enough. However, an important mechanic in these games is the Soul Cube, which is obtained after defeating the Guardian boss, and is also used to get Soul Food, which is using it to defeat 20 enemies. But however, crucially at Nightmare difficulty, this is the only weapon you can use to gain health, as other health pickups are removed. So as you use it, it will deplete the enemy's health until they died and give that health to you. But it is only available when charged with 5 kills. However, since on Nightmare difficulty you deplete back down to 25 health, it is only really used for difficult sections where you need that extra bit of support for a small amount of time. For now, we won't worry about this, but this is a major factor in our survival, still even now. Thankfully, however, as we wrap up the first game on our first playthrough on Veteran difficulty, we get Ripped, which was to use the chainsaw to kill 20 enemies, which, well, thankfully was on the final boss, which was the Cyber Demon again, but much more bigger, as we obtain Big Boy, which, yes, in fact, he was quite big. And the main strat was just to unload everything we had into him, as he's just this massive bullet sponge. Then, as we defeat the Big Boy, we complete the campaign getting Doom Recruit, Doom Marine, and Doom Veteran. And also, did I say we needed to complete the campaign in 10 hours or less? No, I didn't, but well, we did it anyways, as we were following an awesome guide by Big Mac Davis to then get speedrun, which made this game so much more manageable to navigate. So please, if you want to platinum this game, use his guide and in-depth series. I'll be linking it in the description below. After completing the base game, we now move on to our nightmare run of it, which we mistakenly did not do our collectible run on Veteran, meaning we have to find all the storage lockers, PDAs, video logs in the campaign, but now on the hardest difficulty. We won't do this again in the future, as we paid the price of time and many grey hair inducing moments, because this game takes it up several notches, as we previously explained, to prepare you for the pain that is to ensue. However, luckily we have a nice achievement to start off with, which is killing time. That was to score 25,000 points in Turbo Turkey. My god, tongue twister. Minigame in the main lobby at the start of the game. We also then get unarmed badass unintentionally on our way to get all PDAs, as some personnel will have them, so we have to, well, tuck them into bed for a good night's rest with our fists. Now, there is another benefit to continually saving in this game, and one of them is to get the to be or not to be achievement, which is to kill our scientist guide as he enters into the reactor control room by squishing him instead of opening the door. Now, if we continue our run without him, it will lock us out of getting 2 PDAs, so we will need to reload a save and continue on. You could have gone down this route if you weren't looking for PDAs, but this would have also spawned demons, which in my nightmare run we did not need any more of. However, by this point it was the 27th of December 2025, and a thought came into my head whilst I was playing. Could I try to finish this game before the new year? Thinking, could it just be like a pre-New Year's resolution? Knowing that we can move on to Doom 2016 in 2026, knowing that all the previous games are done. And I came to the conclusion that, do you know what? You only live once. So we went ham, and in a once in a blue moon opportunity, I stayed up way past my usual bedtime to start the grind. So the day after, on the 28th of December, from waking up at 6 AM to do my normal morning routine and getting straight on to work, we check off Goodie Finder at 8:47 PM, which was to open all storage lockers in the main campaign. Additionally, then, we see some bloody handiwork in Delta 4 hallway, which we need to examine for You Laugh It Works at 10:02 PM. Then at 12:48 AM, we achieve I Like to Watch, which was to find in all the video logs. There is also another cool Easter egg, which was finding the stone engraving at the end of the main campaign of the id logo, which once interacted with will gain us all of us, and in the same room we will also find the last PDA for Doomed Collector for getting every PDA. Finally, we fight the big boy once more to complete the main campaign on Nightmare difficulty at 1:06 AM on the 29th of December for Doomed Nightmare. It may not seem like a lot staying up until like 2 or 3 AM for most of you, but this was, as innocent as it sounds, the first time I've ever stayed up to complete something, and right now I had my mindset on, if I can complete each campaign in the next 2 days, I can at least get to the multiplayer achievements for however long they may take. Since even by that point my goal wasn't a platinum, but to at least say we've gotten all the base achievements before the new year, since the game is rightfully needing boosting to be able to get the other achievements, which is basically getting other players to help you with multiplayer achievements. This I scratched off as something completely out of my control and will need help with, which I can't determine on when or if I'll even receive it. But despite that though, we completed the base game, so let's celebrate by moving on to the next DLC, being the Resurrection of Evil. So I'm bright and early after a normal morning routine despite staying up late. We get double the fun, which was to kill 2 imps with a shotgun blast, which were nicely lined up in the beginning of the game. But one cool addition we have in the Resurrection of Evil DLC is a bootleg gravity gun from Half-Life, where we can pick up and throw objects, which is especially useful for the mini-boss fight, where the Helltime Hunter will throw energy balls at us, which we will need to throw back at it to get the achievement Give Me Time, and play catch, which was to kill 20 enemies with projectiles launched from what is called the Grabber. We then later on get to Slow Fool, which is to kill 5 enemies at once in Hell Time, which is only available in Resurrection of Evil, but essentially makes everyone else slow down and makes you start seeing red as the Doomslayer. Next, before we go on a nice train ride, we have to fight one more boss, being the Berserk Hunter, to achieve Gimme Power after shooting as hard a few times. Which yet we are far from being done, as we have to fight our next boss being the Invulnerability Hunter, which by the name suggests is painful, especially in Nightmare mode, as essentially you can only damage him once you have shot him enough to bring down his defenses, then shoot out the reactors powering him to make him damageable, which then you can take a shot, but this needs to be repeated 4 times with each reactor before you can kill him. This boss was one of the reasons why I needed a 6-month break before I could attempt making a video on this game, but at least we have now achieved Shocking. However, this time around though, I had learned from my previous mistake of not collecting the available collectibles in Veterans, so we're doing it here, and luckily it is only the PDAs in this DLC that we have to worry about. So on that note, we then achieve Evil Collector, and then we move on to the final boss of the DLC, being one of the evil scientists we've been interacting with throughout the base game campaign as he becomes this pterodactyl looking A. In Nightmare mode, he's a bit of a pain to fight because you need to use all the firepower this game gives you before the fight to kill him, as is usual for the Doom games, but he's really hard to hit and will one-shot you if you're not too careful. Again, this is why you constantly save, so you're given the best chances, which, in that breath, we get Eat This for defeating the Maledict boss, as well as Evil Recruit, Evil Marine, and Evil Veteran on the 29th of December at 5:42 PM, and then about 6 or 7 hours later, playing on Nightmare difficulty on 12:35 AM, we get Evil Nightmare. The DLCs are much shorter to go through than the base game, despite the difficulty being the same. However, we're not done just yet, as we also need to quickly finish off Fists of Fury, which was using the artifact with the Berserk ability to punch out 20 enemies, which, since we have so many saves, we can easily go back to the morning after. Finally, we now move on to the final campaign DLC, being the Lost Mission, which has now removed the artifact that we so desperately need, because previously exclaimed is very useful for short bursts of health where we just need to stock ourselves up to 100. So we only have our small healing factor to 25 to rely on. However, since the campaign is quite short, it was not too much of an issue. But for now, we need to do our obligatory veteran run of the campaign to get all the collectible achievements, and as well others like Not a Scratch, which was to complete a level without taking any damage, which we chose the first level of the Lost Mission since it was especially short, and with some save scumming, or save surviving, it was achieved. So then we can move on to the Lost Collector, which was to collect every PDA in the Lost Missions, which this time was achieved quite early on in this playthrough, only being about 3 to 4 hours since we started. But a cooler Easter egg to find than the id logo was to find the Rage logo at the end of this campaign in a secret room, which Rage is something I haven't played yet, so if you have any experience, what did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? If so, leave a comment, because it's on my games of list to play and more than likely platinum. Other than that, we then fight a wet fart of a boss fight, being the Guardian from the first game it looks like, but just without his superpowers, to then achieve Lost Recruit, Lost Marine, and Lost Veteran, which then led us to achieving Lost Nightmare 4 hours later on the 30th December 2025 at 4:18 PM, exactly on time before the new year as predicted, to finish the Doom 3 BFG edition campaigns. What a difficult but thrilling grind that I could not have thought of a better game to commemorate and give out time to for this challenge, as it was also the first time I played the older Doom games period. However, with one day left and a nice sleep to dust off the cobwebs, I was content with the fact that the multiplayer achievements will be out of my control, since even with the servers being up and me finding one match and a few hours of waiting with just one other person, I jumped on PSN profiles just to see players playing the game and message them via PlayStation to see if they were up for helping me. I didn't expect an answer, but after a reasonable 4 or 5 recent active players I guess, I messaged, a fellow gamer Krushka responded saying he will help us, and that he even had 2 PS3s that he can log on to help us with, since some of these multiplayer achievements needed at least 3 players to get them. So can I, on top of thanking Big Mac Davis for the guide to platinum this game, also thank Krushka and his alt for boosting us for the final few achievements in rapid succession of each other on the 31st of December 2025, starting at 12:15 PM. So we start off with Berserk, which was to kill a player using the Berserk buff, which just makes you stronger and faster in multiplayer. Additionally, needing 2 players, we got 2 deaths, 1 gun, which was to kill 2 enemies in the same room with a rocket launcher, which was nicely lined up for us. Continuing on, in this one match, we then get telefragged after jumping in a teleporter after an enemy player to kill them, and subsequently clean sheet for completing a multiplayer match without dying, as we needed to move on to Frag Chamber, the deathmatch map, which is the home of where we previously got to be or not to be in the base campaign, to kill an enemy player in the same crushing zone we killed the scientist for crushed. And finally, using the invisibility buff, we needed to kill 5 enemy players for the Ninja Killer achievement, and then the gracious Ultimate Doomer for collecting all 65 achievements on the 31st of December 2025 at 12:26 PM, making it our 66th, with about 52.8 hours of playtime from what I calculated. I did not expect to actually platinum this game within this time, but literally with less than 12 hours to go until the new year, we did it all thanks to the platinum chasing community. And yes, since there has been a bit of time in between, I was actually able to platinum Doom 2016, Doom Eternal, and Doom the Dark Ages all in 2026. So my exact goals were completed tenfold. And damn, did I enjoy Doom 2016 and also Doom Eternal, since, well, at least with 2016, I still had achievements since I first played it back in 2016. So it was nice to finally complete that. This was a weird time in my life. I had truly felt the stretch of working to a tight deadline with such a lofty goal, but one that I didn't feel any true stress over. But instead I just felt driven to complete this goal, even if I did or did not achieve it, because in the end I would have still proven to myself that when things get tough, I can still get through it and be content on what is on the other side, if that is or not my goal of platinum this game on time. Up until now, all my goals have put so many years on me that I have stressed over, but in the end, despite what I had, I was fine. And in this case, it's like I had that insight before even booting the game. If only we knew that sooner, then maybe we would have enjoyed the journey a little bit more. If this video has anything to say, that is, don't be afraid of what is on the other side. Just get as much as you can out of the journey, because that is what makes you, you, not what you achieved at the end, even though it's pretty damn shiny. Thank you for watching this video. It's the first I've made on my platinum journeys, but especially this one that was so recent and that I actually had footage for, I could make something out of and feel it'd be worthwhile. On top of that, I'd like to thank again Big Mac Davis for his guide throughout this game, because I would never have done it otherwise, in which I would leave a link in the description alongside my socials for you to jump in on our next platinum journey. And especially I would like to thank Krushka for helping us directly with the multiplayer achievements. And if you enjoyed today's video, like, subscribe, share, watching to the very end's enough. It shows to the YouTube algorithm that, hey, this video seems okay, let's go ahead and just push it to other people. But other than that, it's my time to head out, so have a great one, be safe, and I will see you again sometime, somewhere. See you later.